Hello, my name is Precious and I am the blogger for the Single Maven. So today's topic is lacking honor. Lacking honor, we're going to talk about a couple of things. So we're going to talk about validation, affirmation, respect, and self-esteem. And this is in regards to you as a person. I found a lot of different things within my book that hopefully will be released soon. And it all centered around honoring myself and who God created me to be. But this specific blog post, I wanted to talk about some of the things that relates to you on a regular basis and practical application, because I found this thing within myself as a person, but also within my observation of other people. And I think there's a central theme throughout a lot of us in the fact of we're losing ourselves to a lower standard of living. So we're not living our lives in such a way that exhibits a high regard for who we were created to be, but it's a low regard for who we were created to be. So let me look at a couple of definitions to give you all. Honor means having high respect or esteem, and validation means to provide your truth or your value. So I wanted to look at how does it happen regularly. So this is the audience question. So I do encourage you to actually comment on it and subscribe, please. I'm trying to get some subscribers. If you like it, really. I would like to see some feedback. So the audience question is, when does it happen with you in your day-to-day events? And we're talking about lacking honor. So some examples that I have is when I forget to check in with myself. So I don't take time to look at how I may be thinking or what I may be feeling, and I kind of push it back and it comes out later. But I need to stop and have checkpoints throughout the day, and that could be mindfulness breaks, so just taking a couple of minutes just to breathe and not necessarily do anything. When I extend myself beyond the normal limits of time and space, so that's looking at my schedule. If I have more things in my space, like now I have my table and there are things here like papers I need to kind of clean off. That's part of it, but then time in my schedule, and that could be in how much time I think about something or what I actually put in my schedule on a regular basis. When I allow other people or areas in my life in a way that lowers my standard of living or just thoughts that I have. So if I have an instance of something that may be a minor irritation and I take it to the level of a major irritation, but it's not really going to matter, 5 months from now, 5 years from now, then yeah, I've lowered my standard and I'm lacking honor because I'm giving more time and energy to something that's not warranted. And I think that's a question that we all can ask ourselves, and even thinking about your single status. How much time and energy are you looking at a relationship status to fill a void in your life? Are you giving it more airtime than necessary? And that's not necessarily something that I would have say that it's on my mind on a regular basis, but I do have periods where it's more prevalent than not, and that's pretty much true, I think, of most single people that want to get married. When I allow another's reaction to affect my spirit or my reactions that are a byproduct of interaction. So if I have, like today I had an occurrence where it's kind of where you're asking for a refund, but it's kind of like a redo because it's a service, and the person had a negative response. The negative response to me was noticed, but I did not want to extend myself beyond what was necessary. Number one, I stated I was dissatisfied. Number two, the person was not going to change what they were going to do as a response to my complaint. And then I thought to myself, if I give you more time and energy and I see where this is going, this interaction is going, I'm going to get myself in a headspace that's not going to be conducive to the next thing that I have on my list. So if I have to go back to work or I have to interact with other people and I've given you all of my energy, I'm lacking honor for myself, because it's not saying I let people disrespect me, but I only give you so much time and energy for a specific thing. And after that point, I move forward. And that could be with positive and negative interactions. It doesn't have to be something where you're having a negative response from someone and they may be trying to get a rise out of you, or you're trying to maintain your composure. That could be with a great event or just a family or friend. You have to put boundaries around it. And I talked about this in the blog Stretched. So I think that that's something that we have to ask ourselves is, where do I lack honor in regards to protecting my time and space and also my energy as well? So I had in my notes, and this is actually from my book, I had a few things because it showed up really more than one time, but in different ways. So I wanted to kind of throw some of them out there. I don't know if you all could identify with all of them, but if you can identify with any of them, please feel free to comment and let me know. So the first one I have is by looking at someone else to validate me. Oh my gosh. So that could be in dating relationships. Yeah, you could have a lot of different instances of that happening where you're looking for someone else or a status to validate you. And I think we define validation, right? We talked about, yeah, validation means to provide your truth or value. So am I looking at someone else to provide the value for me, to value me, to tell me what I'm worth? And the next thing I have is doubting my beauty or who God made me to be. So thinking less than of myself or not understanding or agreeing with my identity. Because I could know very full well who I am, but God could be revealing to me more parts of my identity, which is part of my journey now. But if I doubt that, looking at what someone else's response may be or their critique, or me thinking, what is somebody going to think about this? What are they going to say? Even with the blog, I kind of sat on it for like a couple of years because I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, how are people going to respond to this? What are they going to say? But then also, is it good enough? Are people going to like it? Just like the book, what are they going to say? But if God gave me this message based upon my own experiences, and it, of course, is nonfiction, so it's true, you can't really grade someone on their experiences. Like people say, however you feel, you have to accept what that person says because you can't tell someone how to feel. So people can't necessarily grade me on my experiences and my presentation, but I'm handing ownership over to them, and they don't have the capability to do that. So if you doubt yourself and who God made you to be, or if you think you're less than, or someone else looks better or can do something better than you, then yeah, you're lacking honor for yourself. And I mean, I have done it a lot of different ways. Trying to please other people. Clearly, that's the next one, but that's really what I was about to say. Not looking inside of yourself and being honest with your actions. And this is a true story. I had to ask myself that today. What is your motivation? Because a lot of times you can think something is a great idea. I could think, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. But what is your motivation? Why are you doing this? Is it to help someone or help yourself feel better about you? Prop yourself up on a pedestal. Are you seeking to receive from other people what God has already given you? So I think I talked about this, like the voids of certain relationships in your life. But God loves you regardless. Like there's no separation from his love. Like it's always there. And it's not saying because you have these voids that you're not supposed to desire a relationship in that area or for those voids to be filled. Because I do feel that God, is the author of relationship. It's not good for man to be alone in general. Companionship, relationship, family, whatever. But he may have created specific voids to fill you with something else. But if you're looking to please other people to fill that void, you're lacking honor because you're not honoring him and what he would have to be in that space, but you're not honoring yourself because it's not the best for you at that specific time. And that's something hard to swallow. Really, I know, because I have to swallow it sometimes. But you have to look at it from the standpoint of, am I honoring myself with the highest use of my time, my talent, my relationship, my energy, my space, all of those things. In order to honor myself, I have to look at all of those things. And that's a hard question sometimes to actually ask. Not affirming myself. Affirm means to assert strongly or provide encouragement. So am I encouraging myself? Am I giving myself a thumbs up when I do something well? And it doesn't mean I have to complete the whole journey, but for me, things that I'm dealing with in my life, it's kind of ongoing. So at what point do I pause and say, you know what, Precious, like, let's just dance right now. Let's have a little party and take a break and actually look at the fact that I'm entitled to enjoyment and to rejoice even in the process of, preparing or just working in general. It doesn't have to be anything special. I think a lot of this is just day-to-day interaction stuff that we don't really do as well as we do some other things. We'll throw a grand bash for birthday, Christmas, and I'm not saying I love those, type of events, but look at yourself through the lens of the regular day-to-day things, because that's when a lot of us kind of get, it twisted a little bit because we slowly let it creep in on a regular basis. We're lacking honor. Are you seeking to receive, oh no, I said that all right. Do I value myself enough to give to myself instead of always taking from myself? You have to ask yourself, are you actually putting time aside to replenish and just value who you are as a person and a human being with limits? And the last thing I have two more. Not allowing myself time to find the joy in the world or in my surroundings. So providing myself with the gift of freedom and liberty to explore, but also allowing myself to seek the fullness of my surroundings and what all is being offered. And that comes in with actually pausing and recognizing my space and time as well. Feeling bound by circumstances and people. Oh my gosh, yeah. I think a lot of us can fall in this category because I have obligations to my current life circumstances, feeling that what I see is always what will be. So we have a limited perspective, but we're not honoring ourselves enough to say, let me look at this through the lens of faith versus fear. I'm lacking a belief in myself that I'm capable of making substantial change. And a lot of us get into this little rut of the same thing. You get up, you go to work, you do all these things, or it could be with dating. Oh, let me get back on the online dating again. Yeah, you're capable of making substantial change, but sometimes it's just a shift in your perspective or looking at it from the perspective of not really, how do I want to say this? I have through a lens of abundance versus lack. So saying that these things are going to happen, but for how am I utilizing my time, my space to the utmost potential to make substantial change, but you don't have to necessarily do a lot. And I don't know if that even really makes sense, but sometimes for me, substantial change is just like I had to blog about interruption to discovery. I literally really turned right instead of left because I was going to go to a park that I went to before, and I was like, oh, I might want to go to this park. That was substantial change for me because I found stuff that I didn't even know existed, and it's right around the corner. So it's like the slight shifts that we can make to actually honor ourselves more in our day-to-day actions. Oh, this is a good one. Not tolerating people, places, or things that are not in my best interest or season of life that I may be in. So sometimes as single people, I think that we let in more people, places, and things that than we should. So we're not as protective over our time, over our space, over our relationships, because I think it's easier. But then if we're hoping for these things to come and we're not protective of those areas in our life that we kind of let people in or things in, how are we going to get to the next season? And I kind of alluded to this in Stretched, I think. But sometimes it's a subtle way of looking at it in your best interest. Because could you be more productive with your time versus doing XYZ with this person or consuming XYZ, you have to ask yourself that question. And it looks different for different people. Not having to apologize for things that I have not done wrong. So this is kind of like the guilt trip of people pleasing. But sometimes things, they just kind of are what they are. And this probably goes more toward relationships, or dealing with people that may be in certain moods or certain seasons. You can't really take ownership of things that you don't have responsibility for. And I think I've said that before, because you're lacking honor in what your role is in that person's life. So if they're lacking, it could be two single people, and you all, maybe kind of more codependent than necessary, or it could be family. Sometimes it could be a family member. You don't necessarily have to apologize for things that you have not done wrong if you decide to take a detour left or right. And I think sometimes we have to do that to honor ourselves and who God called us to be, because if we always walk the same path with the same people and do the same stuff on a regular basis, what are we going to get? The same thing. And I'm not trying to preach. I'm just being real. I'm saying it to myself. Like, in order for you to actually move forward, you have to take a detour. It's not possible if you walk the same road in the same path. So, yeah, if you're bound by circumstances and people, you're not honoring yourself. Takeaway lessons. So what I have here is affirm yourself and who God made you to be first and foremost. Affirmations really has been, oh my gosh, I can't even describe it. It's so awesome. I would encourage you to do it. I do have it on my practical application list, but you have to affirm who you are. Because in those moments when people may try to get a rise out of you, or you dealing with something, or you question if you're capable of completing a task, the affirmation is going to help you by kicking in and saying, oh, Precious, you're great. You're able to do it. However you put them together. I put mine together with Bible verses because I wanted it to be grounded in what the word says, but also, for me, it's the fact that this is the truth. So I can't be dissuaded by what the truth says about who I am and who God created me to be, because my thoughts will tell me otherwise. But the affirmation says, no, this is the truth here. Don't waste time on areas of your life that are not producing fruit. So that could be out of obligation if you do things, emotional response. If you get angry, I used to do that a little bit more than I should. Perfectionism, whatever the case may be. But if you're looking at your life and you're not seeing fruit, meaning there's nothing productive being produced from this specific thing, yeah, you might want to question it. It could be relationships. It could be work-related tasks. It could even be hobbies. I don't know. Your thinking process. Erase your fear of man. That's a whole nother blog, but I'm so serious. Like, I think the blog is helping me erase my fear of man, because I did have a little bit of a fear of man or woman, which is kind of going in. But yeah, really, fear of man is from the devil, okay? Really, I'm not trying to get too religious, but fear of man is. Pray to be strengthened in the process, because growing and changing takes time and work. Be patient with yourself, but don't forget the lessons you've learned along the way. So be patient. Sometimes I have amnesia. I forget what I learned, but, God has a way of reminding me. And then I think that if you continue to pray about it and be strengthened, you're going to actually recognize some of these things before they come. So you're not going to get as upset about it as you would for some specific circumstance that will make you super upset. You may get slightly irritated, but then you're thinking, this is not going to matter like 15, 20 minutes from now. Practical application steps. I have doing affirmations. So once you start doing affirmations, and for me, I just typed them up. I did 10. And I was just saying them in the morning and the evening. And basically, like I said, I would do those affirmations. And it was really actually part of my small group, one of our homework assignments, which I'm really grateful that we did that. Because it does change the imprint in your mind of who you see yourself as. Reminding yourself of who God created you to be. But also it's honoring yourself. So when you have those moments of, questioning your capability, those things are going to come to your mind. Take mindfulness breaks. I started out with like 30 minutes, and basically it was just me either going to like Starbucks or sometimes in my house, sitting on my couch, cutting off the television. Um, I don't really watch TV, but you know what I mean, cutting off like your phone, any of the electronic stuff so you won't be interrupted. But it could be, taking a walk or just actually sitting in a quiet space. And sometimes I would do it with Starbucks because I'm with people around me, but I'm not necessarily talking to people. You can change it up. But what it is to interrupt the status quo of your day. So you actually put it in time to just check in with yourself, check in with God, and clear the space in your head. Exercise and laughing works as well because, to be honest with you, the more I do these affirmations and mindfulness breaks, the things that would make me like really, really upset, I start to laugh at them when I think about it later on in the day because it may not be as funny when you're dealing with it, but I think as God changes you and your perception about life and just different things and you're growing, you realize that there's such a limited time that you have on this earth. So some of the stuff that, happens is not really worth the energy and the time that we put into it. Because there are major things that happen. People, yeah, you probably will have, a high emotional response because it's warranted. But if it's not something super, super important, yeah, it's going to be funny later because you realize that putting extra time and energy into that thing is not going to honor yourself and it's not going to be productive in the long run. So, the last audience question I have is, what are some practical application steps that you do? So what do you all do in regards to trying to honor yourself more through your day-to-day actions or just your life in general? So hopefully this was helpful. I'm at like 22 minutes. He's getting longer and longer. But thank you for tuning in today to the Single Maven.